phase of the lockdown. We are waiting for the details also to emerge as to what are the kind of relaxations that will be given. We do know that there's a three-pronged plan already in place where the states have been given more decision-making room, more decision-making power, and the intervention as far as the centre is concerned will be specifically related to the 13 municipalities from where in fact maximum number of cases have been reported, but the states have been given more power. So decentralization as far as taking a decision on what needs to be done next is concerned. We'll try and go across to our editor internal security, Nikunj Garg. He's joining us on the broadcast. Nikunj, if you can hear me. Okay, I believe we're still trying to connect with him. Okay, Nikunj is with us. Nikunj, what are the guidelines?
Well, they've just been issued, and alongside you, I'll have to continue to read those guidelines as I speak to you. They've just been issued. The Ministry of Home Affairs has come up with 5th phase of the guidelines, and the big guidelines that are talking, the big portion of the guidelines that it talks about is phased opening of the reopening of areas outside the containment zone. So quite clearly in phase 1, the following activities will be allowed from 8 June. That is, religious places, hotels, restaurants, shopping malls are now all open. So the big piece of news that we can now break for our viewers is that as demanded by the states in multiple categories, religious places in the phase 1 of the relaxed lockdown guidelines of phase 5, religious places, hotels and shopping malls have all been opened outside containment zones, which means that the nationally proscribed list, as we said yesterday, has been pruned to a great extent, and these are the areas which outside the containment zones can now be equivocally, uncategorically, unconditionally opened by the state governments, provided the state governments do not think that in a certain geography or geographical area there is still a blandishment, or there is still a reason why these particular areas or geography or the congregation places cannot be opened. So again, I repeat, the big relaxations in the guidelines that is coming our way in the lockdown 5 is from the nationally proscribed list of activities. Religious places, hotels, shopping malls, and pubs, etc. have restaurants and pubs, etc. have been removed, provided the state governments also concur with it. So that is portion 1 of the nationally released lockdown guidelines first, as always breaking fast on time now.
Right, so massive relaxations are in place, but only in the non-containment zones. Nikunj, stay on with us. I believe Madhav is also with us on the broadcast. Yes, Madhav, take us through those guidelines.
Well, Nikunj was taking us through the 3 phases, where in fact hotels, restaurants, etc. would be opened in the first phase. The second phase also has certain restrictions. The third phase, as deemed necessary, would involve international air travel and also travel by metro and other services. Of course, it will be completely up to the states to actually lift that. But I want to take you to a very, very important aspect. Point number 5 and 6. Point number 5 says that states and UTs, based on their assessment of the situation, may prohibit certain activities outside the containment zones or impose such restrictions as deemed necessary. Point number 6 says that there would be unrestricted movement of persons and goods. There shall be no restriction on interstate and intrastate movement of persons and goods. No separate permission, approval, e-permit will be required for such movements. However, if a state or UT, based on reasons of public health and its assessment of the situation, proposes to regulate movement of persons, it will give wide publicity in advance regarding the restrictions to be placed on such movement and the related procedures to be followed. Movement by passengers, trains and Shramik special trains, domestic passenger air travel, movement on Indian nationals stranded outside the country and of specified persons to travel abroad, evacuation of foreign nationals and sign-on, sign-off of Indian seafarers will continue to be regulated as per SOPs issued. No state or UT shall stop the movement of any type of goods or cargo for cross-land border trade under treaties with neighboring countries. There will be protection of vulnerable persons above 65 years of age, comorbidities, pregnant women, children below the age of 10 years advised to stay at home except for essential health and services. Use of Arogya Setu, of course, is something that we already know. It is, of course, to ensure safety in offices and workplaces. Employers on the best effort basis should ensure that Arogya Setu is installed by all employees having compatible mobile phones. Also talking about district authorities may be advising individuals to install the Arogya Setu application on compatible mobile phones. So what we had seen earlier, as far as states are concerned, just to come back to the last last point, we had seen, large crowds and congregations of migrants at different state borders as they were passing through different states to reach to their destination state. That is something that we will not be seeing now, because clearly, although the states do have the powers to regulate movement if it feels that it is in any way relating to public health over there, but by and large the instruction from the center appears to be that there should be unrestricted movement of people and goods now, and that's very clearly put down in black and white. The states will have the final veto as far as this is concerned. So those roadblocks likely to come down now is what we can envisage. Also, strict enforcement of the guidelines. States and UT governments shall not dilute these guidelines issued under the Disaster Management Act in any manner. All district management shall strictly enforce the above measures, and also penal provisions, of course, continuing as far as this is concerned. Also saying that continuing with face covering, social gathering, spitting in public places, working from home, etc. These have already come out in the past. And of course, the offences and penalties which also are being listed over here. But I want to very quickly take you back to the first point which was made, in fact, as far as the phase-wise aspect is concerned. 3 phases really in which the entire aspect will have to be looked at, which will have to be the guidelines that are of the phased reopening or unlock 1 as per Ministry of Home Affairs. Clearly, of course, this involves phase 1, religious places, places of worship from the 8th of June 2020, hotels, restaurants and other hospitality services, shopping malls too are part of phase 1. So the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare will issue the SOPs for the above activities in consultation with the central ministers, departments concerned and other stakeholders for ensuring social distancing. So remember, phase 1 comes into effect from the 8th of June. Phase 2 is when schools, colleges, educational training, coaching institutions will be opened after consultations with states and UTs. State governments, UT administration may hold consultations at the institutional level with parents and other stakeholders. Based on the feedback, a decision on reopening of these institutions will be taken in the month of July 2020. So July 2020, schools and educational institutions, a call is to be taken on reopening of them. So within a month from now, we can safely assume that a final call on reopening of educational institutions will come into place. And phase 3, based on the assessment of the situation, dates for restarting following activities will be decided. That is international air travel of passengers permitted by MHA, metro rail, cinema halls, gymnasiums, swimming pools, entertainment parks, theatres, bars and auditoriums, assembly halls and similar places, social, political, sports, entertainment, academic, cultural, religious functions and other large congregations would be allowed as far as phase 3 is concerned only once a final decision and assessment as far as the situation is concerned is taken.
Right, so Nikunj, Garg has accessed the MHA guidelines and you saw it first here on Times Now. Stay with us because our coverage will continue on the other side.